Ignorance of the law is not an excuse. That's what the lawyers say. What does it mean? It means you can't just commit a crime and say that I didn't know it's a crime. You have to know what are the laws of the society, what are the laws, rules, and regulations of the society that you are living in. As a real estate professional working in the UAE, a member of United Nations, you're supposed to know all the regulations related to anti-money laundering. Today we are discussing the scope and the definitions. First, the definition of money laundering, scopes of anti-money laundering regulations, compliance requirements, what are the requirements, what are the things that you should do as a company, as an agent, as a compliance officer, fines and penalties of ignoring or not following any of the rules and regulations, red flags in each scope and in each segment, and the customer due diligence and the KYC form. So basically today we are reviewing the definitions of money laundering, terrorism financing, anti-money laundering regulations. What are the definitions? First of all, you need to know. As per the law, this is one of the requirements. You need to know. You need to have a knowledge on the money laundering and the anti-money laundering. What are the stages, how it's being done, and what are the rules and regulations around it and about it. And then by the end of the meeting, once you know everything, I will tell you how to practice it in our business specifically as a real estate agent. So towards the end of the meeting, we'll talk about what are the actions that we need to take as real estate agents. The scope of anti-money regulations, money laundering is the process of hiding the source or the origin of an illegal money. Illegal money means, give me examples for illegal money. Gambling, not paying taxes, drug dealing, human trafficking, bribe. So the process of hiding the origins or the sources of the illegal or illicit or illegally obtained money is called money laundering. Combating the financing of terrorism. Financing of terrorism means funding or providing financial support for terrorism activities. What are the differences? What are the stages in each? We'll talk about it. Countering proliferation financing. Proliferation financing refers to weapons of massive destruction, like nuclear bombs, biological bombs, like the nuclear program of Iran and North Korea. These are countering proliferation financing, which is providing funds or financial services that supports partially or in whole or in part to manufacture, acquire, transfer, transit, develop, export, or transport the nuclear, chemical, or biochemical weapons, similar to Iran nuclear program and the North Korea nuclear program, or their related materials and technologies. Sanctions compliance. And sanctions are restrictions defined or put in place by United Nations or countries imposed to achieve some certain policies or goals or national securities. So the scopes of AML are in these four: money laundering, financing of terrorism activities, proliferation financing related to WMD, weapons of massive destruction, and sanction. There are three lists that we need to make sure, we need to screen the client and make sure that the client or the supplier that we are dealing with is not among one of them. One is the United Nations sanction list, the other one is UAE sanction and terrorism list, and the third one is to make sure that the client is not a PEP. PEP stands for politically exposed person. Why a politically exposed person could be at high risk of money laundering? Because as a politically exposed person, you might have the power to influence the law. If I'm a political party, I have a higher chance to move a black money out of my country and nobody will stop me, right? So money laundering is the process of concealing or hiding the origin of illegally obtained money. And it's usually done, the process is usually involving three stages. The first stage is placement. Placement is the first stage. That is when you put the illicit money, illicit yani namashru, illicit money or illegal money, you introduce it into the financial system. You put that money into the bank. That is your first stage, which is called placement. Second stage in money laundering is layering. Layering means confusing the system, moving the money from one bank to another, from one place to another, converting it. Usually it's moving the money into an international or out of the border, international bank account. That is called layering, converting it to another form, moving it to another place to confuse the system, to conceal the origin, source of the illicit money. And the third stage is integration. Integration means converting it into a product, which is usually a property or a precious stone or a precious metal like gold, diamond, real estate, exotic car, luxury car, and stuff like that. And it's usually in big amounts. The difference is in financing terrorism, remember, financing terrorism doesn't need big amounts. You can, a terrorist activity can be financed with a few thousand. With a few $1,000s, you can have someone do a terrorist. Terrorist financing is funding or providing financial support for terrorist activities. One point is that unsuspecting people, maybe you are already financing terrorism and you don't know about it. You are probably paying money to a charity or a charity organization online, but you actually don't know what's happening with that money. Unsuspecting people often contribute to charities not knowing their money is being funded to support terrorism instead of humanitarian goals. In the terrorism funds could be from legal or illegal money, right? The source of the fund, which is to support the terrorism, the source could be legal or it could be illegal. And they are laundered to disguise, to confuse the origin, to hide or conceal the origin of the connection of and the source of the money, and they are used for supporting terrorism activities. Compliance requirements. Number one is to identify, assess, and understand the risks. Understand the client you're dealing with. Understand the risk of your business. Understand the risk of the client. Understand the risk of certain nationalities. Understand the risk of certain divergent countries, certain places, certain businesses. Number one is to identify and understand. Secondly is to define. These are the requirements. This is what the law expects you to do. Second thing is to define the scope and take due diligence measures. Appoint a compliance officer, which could be in-house or outsourced. So you can have, what I mean to say is a compliance officer doesn't necessarily have to be. For small organizations, compliance officer can be in-house. What is needed? To be trained and to go through the standards and to follow the procedure and all the regulations. Implement management information and procedures to mitigate, to minimize the risks and monitor implementation to make sure that they are being implemented. Indicators to identify suspicious transactions. And the suspicious activities must be reported. There are some suspicious behaviors. There are some suspicious activities. There are some red flags that you need to be aware of, and the system, your organization, needs to report it to the GoAML system, report it to the anti-money laundering authorities. If a client is dealing with a lot of cash, if a property somebody is buying is not matching his profile. You come to my office, I have a very small business, I have a very small office, or I'm too young to buy a 200 million dirham villa in Dubai Hills. So it's a suspicious, it's a red flag. The property that I'm investing in is where I'm about to do business is not matching my profile, right? So this is a suspicious activity. Or I'm a type of client that every year, few months a year, whenever you call me, I'm not reachable. Not being reachable or difficult to be to reach to a client is a red flag. I am always insisting on using a company car, or I'm always insisting to buy a property under my company name, which is an inactive, which is a shell company. Shell company means not really active in business. It could be an offshore company, it could be JAFSA company, it could be DED license, it could be any company, any form of company, but it's a shell company. It's not really active. Or the amount or the value of the property that this company is buying is not matching the profile and the income or the turnover of this company. These are red flags. I'm always insisting to buy properties under the name of the company to hide my identity. This is a red flag. You're talking to me, I'm buying a property from you. You notice that I am not actually the decision maker, though the property is going to be purchased under my name, but there is always someone that I am checking the details with. Plus, this one is a little bit bigger. It's, by the way, 2 million dirham, but the plot size is 5,000 square feet. It means someone else is the actual beneficiary. Someone else is the... These are red flags. The suspicious activities and red flags must be reported. Apply United Nations Security Council resolutions related to terrorism and proliferations of weapons of mass destruction. Proliferation of weapons of mass destruction refers to, like I said, biological weapons, nuclear programs, any weapon of mass destruction. But basically, especially in practice, it's referring to Iran and North Korea nuclear program. Record keeping, to keep all the records. Okay, fine. You have done the due diligence. You check the client. You check the client online. You use the AML related softwares and tools to check and screen to make sure the client is not in the UAE sanction list. It's not in the UN sanction list. It's not a politically exposed person. You have done your due diligence. Whatever is required, you have done, collected all the documents. You have to keep records of all these checkings as well. Compliance officer is checking in the UN sanction list. When I check in the UN sanction list, his name is not there. I need to keep a record, a screenshot with the date and the time, with the time and date stamp or watermark showing that on so and so date and so and so time, I did check on him. AML regulations apply to all DNFBPs. There are 5. DNFBPs are 5. One is auditors and accountants, companies and trust service providers, trust service providers, dealers in precious metals, gold, diamond, jewelry, silver, the real estate agencies like us, and lawyers and notaries. Especially the real estate agents and lawyers' offices. People who are doing money laundering, they use a lot of us. They use a lot from, they have a lot of businesses with realtors and with lawyers. The fines and penalties. If you fail to report any suspicious transaction, you get a fine of 100,000 to 1 million and to imprisonment. You can go behind bars. Tipping off. Tipping off means giving some information, giving a heads up. Thank you very much. Giving a heads up, giving some information that helps crime to happen. Tipping off gives you 100 to 500,000. You can go to jail for not less than 6 months. Failure to comply with the sanctions, imprisonment, and so on. So the fines, as you see, are heavy. You can get banned from work, you can get suspended. The board of directors of your company can get suspended, and the executive management can get suspended. Again, reminder, ignorance of the law is not an excuse. You can't commit a crime and you can't defend your actions by arguing or saying that you didn't know it's a crime, you didn't know it's a law. There are also wider impacts of money laundering on society and country. When the whole society, when we allow some illicit money, some illegal money, some money laundering come into our society, we are actually harming ourselves as well, right? Imagine, let's say, I have some illicit money, I have some dirty money that I want to launder it in your society. Okay, let's say 10 million dirham. I bring that 10 million dirham to Dubai. I don't mind losing 5% of that amount as long as I'm sure the money is being laundered into white and clean, usable money, right? So with that 1 million dirham, I buy some products, I sell it in your market for 5% less than the cost. I'm actually harming you as a competitor who is in the same business. So it creates some unfair competition. It creates an unhealthy environment to the economy. Not only that, to the society as well. You're actually opening the door to criminals. So there are wider impacts of money laundering. We should be aware of all these suspicious activities. We should be completely aware and have the knowledge, not only to follow the law, not only because of the AML regulations, but also as a humanitarian duty. It's your duty towards your society. So it can have impacts like instability in the society or in the economy, social costs, reputation of your town or your society will go down when there is more dirty money in your society, and sanctions can be imposed on your society. So the red flags are into 4 different categories. Money laundering red flags, terrorist financing red flags. There are some activities, some suspicious behaviors or facts or activities, then when you see them, it could be red flags related to sanctioned activity related red flags or proliferation financing red flags. You need to be completely aware of these. Money laundering related red flags is when the client is requesting unusual, having some weird behavior or having some unusual or unconventional circumstances. Clients where the structure or nature of the entity makes it difficult to identify the true beneficial owner, like I explained, or controlling interest or client attempting to block understanding of their business. Client is not allowing you to understand what is their business, what is it that you're doing. Use of complex loans or credit finances. Complex loans means showing different sources, showing different properties, different assets to the bank to get a loan. Why am I showing different sources and different things? Some money from here, some asset from here. Why am I making it a complex? To hide the origin of the illicit money which I'm having. So it's a red flag. It doesn't necessarily mean that that money is black, right? Is illegal at the end. But it could be a red flag. Businesses that, while not normally cash incentive, appear to have substantial amount of cash. You're having a business where you are getting all your payments by bank transfer or by credit card. Why the hell are you having so much cash in your office? This is a red flag, right? Use of non-financial professionals, such as real estate agents and legal professions. Why use of real estate agents and legal professionals could be a red flag? Because of, number one, conflict of interest, also for the privacy of the client that we always keep it safe. So people who want to launder their money, they have a lot of use of realtors and users and lawyers, sorry. Clients who appear to be acting on someone else's instructions without disclosure. Somebody's over the phone always, somebody's on the email always. Someone else is the boss. He is being, so in the market, some people call it proxy. He's being a proxy. The boss is someone else. The actual owner is someone else. Clients who appear to actively avoid face-to-face meetings. Clients who are avoiding face-to-face meetings. Clients who are hiding their actual addresses. Clients who give you addresses in the buildings where there is no unit number. Clients who are having shared residential properties. One apartment is being used by multiple families or multiple persons who are not actually related. The same with them. These are suspicious. Clients who request a transaction is unusually tight or accelerated. Those who are in hurry. Those who are insisting on a time frame which is not reasonable. There is no actual, there are no strong reasons behind it. If I am in a hurry to finish the transfer, get me the title deed now, and there is no logic, no reasons behind it, it could be a red flag. It's suspicious. Dal mein kach kala hai. Clients who have funds that are obviously, the property that I'm buying is not matching my profile. I'm 20 years old, I didn't have a rich father, I'm having a very small business, and I'm buying a multi-million-dollar property. The property I'm buying is not matching my profile. It's a red flag. Clients who insist without adequate justification or explanation that the transaction be effected exclusively or mainly through the use of virtual assets. What are virtual assets? NFTs, cryptocurrencies, virtual goods, even virtual goods that are used that are being bought and sold in the games. So clients who are insisting to use virtual assets or cryptocurrencies or NFTs, it's also a red flag. It doesn't necessarily mean that the money is dirty. We are supposed to do the due diligence and go through the regulations that you have to do. Use of corporate vehicles. I'm always using a company car. It's a red flag. Maybe I'm trying to hide someone's identity. Clients who are supposed to be engaged in falsifying activities through the use of false loans, false invoices, false documents, fake documents, manipulation or appraisal of valuation of the property. Indicators that client does not wish to obtain necessary governmental approvals or filing. Client is not comfortable to go through the approvals or the paperwork. Again, it's a red flag. Client is reluctant to provide all the relevant information. There are a lot of information that are needed and I'm not feeling comfortable to share those information. These are reasonable grounds to suspect that the information is incorrect or insufficient. Payment of high value in cash. I have a lot of cash. Suspicious. Use of frontmen or front companies. Again, proxies. Structuring transactions below 55,000. So you see that multiple times I'm trying to structure my payments in batches of 55,000 dirham. Why? Because I know that below 55,000 dirham cash or up to 55,000 dirham cash, nobody is actually going to catch me and question me about the source of funds, source of wealth. So I'm trying to make all my payments in the batches of 55,000 dirhams so that I don't be caught. This is again a red flag. Transactions that have no apparent economic purpose or customer. Okay, there are some transactions that doesn't make sense. Buying that property or doing that transaction doesn't make sense. When it doesn't make sense, when there is no logic behind it, there is no reason behind it, could be a red flag. Terrorist financing related red flags. Some of them are common with the money laundering. Unwilling to provide ID. Use of fake documents, multiple unrelated people living in the same address, use of frontmen, proxies, or shell companies to hide the ownership, to hide the identity of the beneficiaries, use of cash, avoid the trail, use of mailbox addresses instead of residential address. So one of the due diligences that you should do is to ask the actual residential address. Ask the actual address of the client attached with the proof of residency. Proof of residency, proof of address could be Diva bill or Ijari or whatever. So a bill that shows that this person is actually living in this unit. Use of mailbox. When I'm insisting to use my PO box number or mailbox address and I'm reluctant to give you the actual address, names appear in media reports linking. When you're searching my name, you'll see a lot of links related to terrorist activities. Again, it's a red flag. Names appear on sanctioned lists, UAE sanctioned list and UN sanctioned list. Sanctioned activity related red flags are, okay, I'm dealing in a financial sector which can be used for, exactly, to bypass the sanctions, right? I'm using in a financial sector, or I'm doing business, I'm doing hawala business. Oil and gas sector is a sector where can be, exactly, it's a big sector for this. Non-profit organizations, charities organizations, and international trade. Dealings with high-risk countries or terrorism financing. A lot of countries are high-risk and they are known for terrorism financing. Dealings with sanctioned countries or places where sanctioned persons are known to operate. There are some countries that they are known for the terrorist activities to operate from, like Iran, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Lebanon. The use of shell companies, corporations that are not active, or they are having significant assets, again not matching, and also using the shell company. Dealings with sanctioned goods or under embargo. Dealing with dual-used goods. What's an example of dual-used goods? Nickel nickel can be used in a battery or it can be used in a weapon, in a weapon of mass destruction, or many electronics, even the devices and the parts of an iPhone, they have dual use. They can be used for nuclear programs or they can be used for telecommunication and some romantic conversation between two Romeo and Juliets. So it's a dual use. Dealings with controlled substances, identifying documents that seem to be forged or controlled, identifying tempered or modified documents with no apparent explanation. Use of intermediaries, use of people in between. Proliferation financing, this is mostly referring to Iran and North Korea. The customer profile risk indicators. During onboarding, a customer provides incomplete information about their proposed trading activities. During subsequent stages of due diligence, a customer or its owners or directors appear in sanctioned lists or negative news. The customer is a person connected with a country connected with Iran or North Korea, basically, or diversion concern. What is the country of diversion concern? China could be a country of diversion for North Korea. Russia could be a country of diversion for all. So actually, countries of divergence are countries that you can use to reach to your destination, to get your money to your destination, to get your product to your destination. Dubai can be used as a diversion to Iran. China can be used as a diversion to North Korea. The United States can be used as a diversion to Cuba or Mexico. These are diversion. The customer is a person dealing with dual-used goods. A customer affiliated with a university or research is involved in the trading of dual-use goods. It doesn't have to be trading. It could be a university, it could be a research institute dealing with dual-use goods. It's a red flag. You have to be aware. There is a high risk. Customer activity does not match the customer's business profile. We explained it. The second type of proliferation financing activity related red flags are account and transaction activity risk indicators. And a transaction involves person or entity in foreign country. A transaction involves person in foreign country of diversion concern. The originator or beneficiary of a transaction is a person, a resident of a country of proliferation or diversion concern. The beneficiary is a resident of Iran or a country diversion to Iran. Accounts or transactions involve possible companies with opaque. Opaque means not clear. Yeah. Opaque ownership structure, front companies or shell companies. The actual identity of the actual beneficiary is being hidden. Maritime sector, a trading entity is registered in an address that is likely to be a mass registration address. You're asking my residential address and I'll give you the name of a building which is having multiple units, which is a place for hundreds of people. I'm not giving you a specific unit number. That is another risk. Targeted financial sanctions, Cabinet Resolution number 74 of 2020 regarding the terrorist list system and the implementation of Security Council resolution related to preventing and suppressing terrorism and its financing, counter of proliferation and its financing, and the relevant solutions. UAE regulations require sanctions screening against United Nations and UAE sanction list. We must check the name of the client in the UAE sanction list and the UN sanction list. We also need to make sure that the client is not a politically exposed person. Customer due diligence includes compatibility of the customer's profile with the specifics of the real estate transaction that is on the table. It also includes utilization of complex or opaque or unclear legal structure or arrangements in the deal, possible association with PEPs because politically exposed persons can influence the law actually, and possible prior association between the parties, between the buyer and this. The customer due diligence for individuals. See, guys, we measure the risk in different indicators and different factors as per the nationality, source of fund, source of wealth, country of residence. At the end, the profile could be at a medium risk or high risk or low risk. What I'm explaining you here and the KYC forms that we will fill up for all clients is at high risk to make sure that we are on the safe side and we are providing all the necessary documents and our KYC and due diligence is complete. This is what needs to be provided by an agent. You need to collect the full name of the client, passport or ID card of the client, expiry date of the passport or ID. These all will be in the KYC form. You need to collect a copy of valid passport or valid ID. You need to know you need to put the nationality of the client in the form, gender, date and place of birth, country of residence, and check if it appears on the gray list or black list. Gray list like UAE, black list like Iran. Residence address other than the PO box, including proof of address like a DIVA bill or an Ijari. Occupation, job, name and address of the employer. If that person is employed, what is the name and the address of the employer? If it's a self-employed, again, the documents of the company. Check if the individual is a politically exposed person. Your AML compliance officer will do it, or a close associate of a PEP. Screen customer's name against the UN sanctioned list and the UAE sanctioned list, including terrorism list. Again, your AML compliance officer will do it for you. Purpose of business relationship. purpose of business relationship has to be clear. What is the purpose of this purchase? Expected level and type of activity. This is for a high-risk client. For a high-risk client, one of the questions you should ask the client and must be filled in the KYC form is, when are you expecting to have your next business with us? When are you expecting to come back? When will be the expected date of our next business? And at what level? Expected level and type of the activity to be conducted with HRRE means Homeland Realty real estate. Timing of expected transactions and seasonality of the transactions. Source of funds and source of wealth. You need to collect documents related to it. If that person is saying, I'm a business owner, ask for the trade license copy or any company that shows the source of fund and source of wealth. Open source internet search. You can always check a client on Google and see if the links that pop up are related to sanctions or terrorism or money laundering. When the client is a company, is a corporate, again, name of the company, trading as name, registered address, and place of registration, date and country of incorporation, and check if it's again in a gray list or a black list, trade license or commercial. Copy of valid trade license and customer registration. Nature of the business, what kind of nature, what kind of activity the business is having. Name of the beneficial owners owning 25%. If there are beneficial owners, the partners, their names. Verify the ID of the partners and the beneficial owners by checking against their valid ID documents, passports, and get a copy and keep a copy of these documents. Names of the members of the board of directors and senior management like the CEO, CFO, COO. Purpose of business relationship, again. Expected level and type of activity to be conducted with your office. Timing of expected transactions and seasonality of the transactions. How often are you expecting to have business? Source of fund and source of wealth. Screen customer's name against the UN sanction list and the UAE sanction list, including the terrorist list. Screen the ultimate beneficial owner's name, if there is an ultimate beneficiary behind it. And the key controller names, like the CEOs of the board of directors, against the UN sanction list and the UAE sanction list. And open list internet search to check the background of the person and link to criminal activity. This is the KYC form that needs to be filled for individuals of high risk. In the medium risk and low risk, few of these, like the proof of residency, is not in a low risk. If a client is having certain nationality, certain place of living, few of these items will not be there. So those items which I mentioned for you for the customer due diligence at high risk will all be mentioned here. This is an uneditable Excel sheet. It will be filled by our compliance officer. And after filling each and every field and section here, the total scoring of the risk will appear. Residence address, proof residence address, attach copy of residency proof, what is the occupation. Check if the individual is a politically exposed person or a close relation to a PEP status checked via open source. So all these have to be checked and done for KYC. The KYC form for corporates, for companies, is a little bit longer. I'm showing it in 2 slides. This is the first part. Again, all the items which I mentioned in the customer due diligence for corporates are mentioned here. And this is the second part, which includes identities of the partners and the directors in the company. Assalamu alaikum.